balance of trade deficit arises from the fact that we import goods worth 33,000 crores as we did in this year, and we export goods worth 28,000 crores. So there is a deficit of 5,000 crores. But it's not the deficit of 1 year. It has been going on year after year after year. If you ask me, is this country capable of exporting more? I think there is not the slightest doubt that it can, provided we follow the right policies. This country, I'm never tired of saying, is not poor by nature, but it is poor by policy. You have some of the finest brains in this country, some of the brightest minds. Instead of quoting my own words, let me quote the words of Riley, Sir William Riley, the Executive Vice Chairman of the International Financial Corporation. He said, India has some of the most dynamic entrepreneurs, some of the most creative business leaders, some of the sharpest commercial brains, and yet this country has to remain in this poverty because of the foolish policies we pursue and which we will not give up. In fact, the time has come when we will have to work to make this nation rich against the wishes of our leaders, because they don't seem to be interested in enriching this nation. Somehow there is something in our culture which makes us believe that poverty is something glorious and great. The net result that I'm quite happy to see my fellow countrymen very poor, while I myself live in reasonable comfort. Now, our position as an exporting nation was very high in 1950 when we started as a republic. We were the 16th in the world. Today we are the 43rd. We had 2.2% of the world trade. Today we have 0.43% of the world trade. That is less than half of 1%. The Chancellor of the Exchequer said the other day in the House of Commons that India is a good example of how not to run the economy of a country. He said, here is Hong Kong, which has only 5 million people as against our 840 million. That means it has less than 1% of India's population. Its total land area is 0.03% of India's. That is 3 upon 10,000. It's only one city. But its international trade is twice the trade of India. Imagine one single port having more international trade than all the ports of India put together, including your Bombay and New Bombay and Madras and Calcutta and the rest. Doesn't it make you wonder whether we are not playing our part in ensuring that the right policies are followed by the government? Because as Abraham Lincoln said, it's without the sentiment of the people, nothing can succeed. It's only when the people are aroused to realize what the rights are and what the right policies ought to be, that the right policies would be adopted. So the greatest problem, the greatest shadow is the national debt caused by this balance of payments deficit and the revenue account deficit. The next is the public sector, which of course the finance minister for the first time says he will try to dilute in a certain manner, which I'll talk of in a moment. 71,000 crores is invested in the union government public sector enterprises, which number 231, 71,000 crores. If you take the state enterprises, which are 636 in number, 25,000 additional crores are invested there. The net result, the net return to the nation is very small. In fact, among the state enterprises, some of you may not know that even the accounts are not ready for 2 years. I remember when I was on the Reserve Bank board, we kept on sending reminders to the state electricity boards to submit their accounts. No accounts are submitted. Normally it's beyond 2 years that an account comes to you. Today the state electricity board's accounts are not available for the last 2 years. So if you are asked what is the return or what is the absence of return on the capital employed, you would have to give the figures more than 2 years old. Why is this tolerated? How is it that Tata Electric companies make a profit working under restrictions as to what their profit can be? And the state electricity boards, every one of them works at a loss throughout India. Why is it that private operators are working their buses and their trucks at a profit, and the Delhi Transport Authority, government-owned, is making a loss of between 100 and 200 crores a loss every year? Is there no accountability? Will the people, one day there will be a revolution in this country. I remember when Jaiprakash Narayan used to talk of a total revolution, I said to myself, but why is the man getting so agitated? As I grow older and I come to the end of my life, I tell myself, perhaps Jaiprakash was right. What is the other answer? How will these poor people ever see daylight if you keep on pursuing policies which are so dead against the interests of the poor man? It's not as if the minister, for example, Professor Dandavate, would not care for the poor. He would. He has a heart of gold. But the point is that the structure has become so fossilized that it is very, very difficult to change it. You need a drastic change which can only be by a revolutionary leader who can bring about a transformation in our habits of thinking. As, for example, in China they did, or in the Soviet Union they have in Gorbachev. A first-rate man, but thrown up by almost a revolutionary movement which has led to Eastern Europe being liberated, as you have just heard from Mr. Apte. The last point I would like to deal with by way of backdrop to the budget is the black market problem. It is true, in fact I don't think there is a man here who would not be against the black market. I am dead against it myself, so please do not misunderstand me if I quote to you certain aspects and facts. My simple point is that while the black market ought to be curbed, and every endeavor should be made to curb it, the finance minister has said in his budget speech that he proposes to have a scheme under which you can construct houses for the poor, develop rural areas, construct hospitals, etc., and no questions would be asked as to where you got your money from. Other countries have done the same after the last World War. Belgium did it, France did it, and a number of other European countries.